spent the last 4 years converting an abandoned Chicago warehouse building into my dream home, and the number one question I get is how much did it cost me to do? So in this video, we're gonna answer that question and break down all the costs. Not only are we gonna look at how much I paid, we're gonna look at how much I saved by doing a lion's share of the work myself. We're not gonna hide anything. I'm gonna fully disclose where I got things for free or a reduced price because I'm a YouTuber. And at the end of the video, we're gonna find out whether I made or lost money. We've got a realtor coming in. They're gonna give us a number about how much we could list this place for if we tried to sell it today. We're gonna see whether I made a good investment or a big mistake. Starting at the beginning, I bought the building for $315,000 in March 2020. Now I'd saved for 14 years working as an attorney, so I was able to buy the building in cash. I also had equity from a previous loft I'd owned, so I had some cash reserves to help pay for the renovation. In addition, I took out a $250,000 construction loan, also referred to as a bridge loan, that would help pay for the renovation. Now before you even do any work, there's some overhead costs that are going to be involved in any type of renovation like this, because it is basically like building a house from scratch. We're really only keeping the brick walls and structure. Everything else was getting ripped out, gutted. So the first cost was an architect, and this cost me $20,000, which was a little bit of a shock. But unfortunately, you got to get permitting, and in order to get the permitting on a large project like this, you really have to have an architect to do detailed drawings. So these are what I got for basically $20,000. So this is just a detailed plan, everything, HVAC, electrical, mechanical, all laid out nicely so that you can get permits easier. But that doesn't mean it's easy to get the permits, no, because in Chicago, you also have to pay a permit expediter, $1,500 there. As for why you need a permit expediter, I don't know what happens in Chicago. I don't know if they play golf with the guy from the building department or what, but as far as I understand, it's kind of necessary unless you want to wait in line forever. Next up, because of all the logistics involved, I did hire a general contractor for the project. And that was a $12,000 cost to oversee the whole project. So before we did any work at all, we were already about $33,500 into this between the architect, permit expediter, and GC. Now, as for the work, first thing I did was demolition. And some people don't really factor this into the cost of a big renovation, but demolition is expensive. It was gonna cost me somewhere in the range of $15,000 to $20,000. There are some things you do have to pay for, even if you're doing it yourself. You need a dumpster because you have to have some place to put all the trash. Here it costs about $500 for each dumpster load, and that's gonna include the company dropping the big dumpster off, leaving it for a week, picking it up, taking it away, and the permits that are required in order to leave the dumpster in front of the building. We did that 3 times, so $1,500 for that. There was also a third staircase in the middle of the building, and it was made of really heavy steel, so it wasn't something I could safely tackle on my own. I called in some help for that, and so that was another $1,500. So through demolition, I'd paid $3,000 with a DIY savings of $15,000 I would have had to pay if I didn't do the rest of the demo myself. So next up in the process is framing. Upstairs, we had to frame out the kitchen, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, the studio space, and the hallway. Downstairs, we had to frame out 2 hallways by each stairs so that the workshop space would be completely separated by a fire-rated wall between the workshop, which is the commercial space, the residential space, in order to meet code for a mixed-use building. We also had to frame in joists in the holes that were opened up when we removed the staircase and to close in the elevator in the hallway. So with that note, the framing was $26,000 for framing out everything. And I know that seems high. We also were dealing with the COVID price spike and materials. The steel studs we used had probably doubled in price. Next up, we've got electrical. And when I moved in the building, because there was working electricity, I was hoping this wouldn't be that bad. But unfortunately, it was a complete DIY hack job. And trying to retrofit and use the existing electrical would have probably cost more than just starting over. So we basically had to rip out all the old electrical and just put in a new electrical system. This whole 3,000 square feet upstairs, plus some of the shop, plus the hallways, the total came to $31,760 for electrical. So now moving on to the mechanical system. There was a small furnace downstairs, way undersized, as well as an old AC unit that was clinging on for dear life upstairs. And there really was no existing ductwork for the HVAC system because it was a big open space. There were these weird pipes coming up through the walls from the first floor to the second floor. And again, we had to rip everything out, put in a new HVAC system upstairs and a separate HVAC system downstairs. So you're doubling the cost with 2 systems. We had to do new AC units. So the cost for all the mechanical work we did wound up being $34,000. Next up for the plumbing, which was, I think, the most expensive single line item in the whole renovation. And this one, well, yeah, it's probably gonna blow your mind. It blew mine. I'm still kind of scratching my head. The existing plumbing for the bathrooms was basically unusable. It appeared to be a kind of DIY hack job, not up to code. We had to rip everything out and start over for this. The cost came to $55,780. Yeah, that hurts. It still hurts to read that. So why was it so expensive? Well, one of the main factors was Chicago code, which I don't understand. Nobody really can give me a real explanation, but it requires metal piping in all commercial buildings. So we had to use this cast iron piping for all the plumbing stacks to all 3 of the bathrooms upstairs. And for anything smaller, we had to use copper piping, way more expensive than PVC. And the labor for installing that is way, way more expensive. For the cast iron, they literally have to melt down steel and use this kind of Stone Age's welding technique to seal all the pipes together. Next up, insulation. My original plan was to do all the insulation myself with rock wool. I installed rock wool in about half the walls upstairs and then found out you can't really use the batten insulation under a flat roof because you need a moisture gap between the insulation and the rooftop. So at this point I stopped installing the rock wool and just decided to call in the professionals to do spray insulation for the ceiling and the remainder of the walls. The cost to have the spray insulation done was $5,000 and I spent about $1,500 on the rock wool. And by doing that myself, I probably saved about $1,500. So total cost to me of doing the installation was $6,500 with about $1,500 in DIY savings for the part I did with rock wool. So at this point, we've done the framing, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, insulation. The walls are ready to close up. So for the walls, we did drywall in the kitchen, the 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and the studio. We also had to do double layer drywall for the hallways downstairs in the front and the back. The double drywall was required so that it could have a fire rated separation. We also had to do the double drywall on the ceiling of the workshop downstairs. In the bathrooms, we used Durock for all the shower walls, and on the floor in the master bathroom, since we have a curbless shower, Durock is cement boards, so you want that anywhere that's gonna have direct exposure to moisture. And as for the trim on the walls, I did all that myself, so there was a DIY savings there. So total cost for all the Durock, the drywall, the trim, was $17,000. And since I did all the trim work myself, we're gonna estimate there was a labor savings of about $1,500 for the trim work. Next up for the windows, we didn't have a lot of windows because this building is right smack against the buildings next door to it. And because of that, we did skylights in all the bedrooms instead of windows. And we'll cover the cost of those skylights when we talk about the cost of the roof. In the back of the building, there was a tiny window, not enough light to be up to code. So we had to add a bigger window there. And because it was in a brick wall, there was a lot of masonry work that had to be done to open that hole up for the window. And because it's by an alley, I went for double pane glass to reduce the noise. So for that back window, the masonry work was $3,500 and the cost for the custom 5-foot by 8-foot window was $2,000 for a total of $5,500 there. Next up, we got the penthouse room that was leading up to the roof deck. When I got the building, there were these handmade windows that were literally just like plexiglass with silicone and 2x4s around them. The ceiling had become a pigeon's nest because they never fully enclosed it. It was disgusting. So we had to gut that, remove all the old windows, repair some of the framing that had water damage, add new drywall, paint that, add new windows up there. So the amount for that penthouse room all in was $6,500. And that $6,500 also included new siding around the outside of the penthouse room. Next up, the roof, and this one hurt because when we moved in, we thought we were just gonna have to do some patching in the roof. It looked like someone had laid down a membrane somewhat recently. But when we started doing demo of the ceiling inside, we quickly discovered that a bunch of the wooden roof boards were completely rotted out. There were mass sections that needed to be just replaced entirely. So we had to basically rip out the entire roof and rebuild it from the ground up, replacing or sistering rotted joists, patching holes in the roof, putting down new polyiso insulation, a new EPDM membrane, and all this for a 3,000 square foot flat commercial roof, and also had 4 skylights installed. All that together ended up costing a grand total of $55,000. I also paid $4,000 for the skylights that we installed. We got Velux skylights for all the bedrooms so that those could be up to code with light requirements since we weren't doing windows. So total cost for the roof and skylights was $59,000. So up to this point, most of the costs had been things I've been hiring out. So not a lot of DIY savings there. But with the HVAC, electrical, drywall, plumbing, all the sort of infrastructure of the building done, now we get to the point where I can actually start saving a lot of money with the finishes. So first up, we got the flooring. I went with a 5-inch wide plank hardwood maple flooring. I got this on a discount for about $6 a square foot, and I bought about 2,200 square feet. So with tax and everything, the cost of materials for the flooring throughout the place was $14,000. The labor for installing it, $0, because I did it all myself. Now, labor cost of flooring varies from region to region, from the type of flooring and so on. So what did I save by doing the flooring myself? Well, first up, there was a lot of repair work in the subfloor, so that would have been something I had to hire out. We had the rotted sections I had to replace with plywood throughout. Second, doing a diagonal installation is more expensive. In Chicago, they estimate $14 to $22 a square foot for installation. With over 2,000 square feet of flooring, it will come to $20,000 as our labor savings between the installation of the flooring, also all the repair work we had to do with the subfloor. Painting the walls, well, this cost me a whopping $0 for materials and labor. I used a pretty expensive paint. I was sponsored by Benjamin Moore for that video, so the materials were free. I'll say that there was a $2,000 savings on materials there that I got because I was a YouTuber. As far as painting, I got some estimates. It probably would have been about $10,000 to paint all 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, the hallways. So we'll say the labor cost that I saved about $8,000 by painting it myself. Total DIY savings, about $10,000 for the painting. Next up, we got the guest bathroom. And here we saved quite a bit of money because I did all the finishes and the tile work myself. I also built the shower enclosure. The main cost here was materials. I went with a Schluter shower system for the shower floor and curb and waterproofing the whole thing. And I did splurge on some pretty nice $10 square foot tiles for the floor of the shower and the niche. I fabricated the ramp concrete sink myself, so saved a ton of money there. Overall, the materials came to about $5,000 for the guest bathroom. There was some YouTuber savings here because I didn't have to pay the materials with the sink. They were provided by Fishtone Concrete, who provided all the concrete for my builds. So we saved about $500 because I'm a YouTuber. As for DIY savings, that sink would have probably been about $4,000 if you had it fabricated. And as for labor, doing those big vertical tiles, installing all the Schluter, doing the shower floor, installing the custom steel braces in the wall to support the sink, would have come to about $8,000. And before we go further, we're gonna take a second to head down to the garage and install a mini split from this video sponsor, Mr. Cool. The Mr. Cool DIY ductless mini split is a do-it-yourself HVAC system that features Mr. Cool's patented pre-charged line set. The pre-charged line set, which is only offered by Mr. Cool, makes it possible for anyone to install a mini split on their own without the assistance of an HVAC professional. I'm installing a 24,000 BTU 4th Gen E-Star DIY ductless mini split, which will heat and cool up to 1,050 square feet, perfect for my large garage workshop area. My neighbor Alex and I were able to install it in about 8 hours. The system comes with a mounting template that makes it easy to mount the indoor unit just about anywhere you need heating and cooling. I made a custom platform so it would blend in at the top of my workshop murals, but typically you just screw it right into your studs. The outdoor unit can be installed on a concrete pad on the ground or like I did on an exterior wall. Now we got creative and used my truck to lift the outdoor unit up onto the provided wall mount brackets, but 2 people can also lift the unit up onto the wall mount brackets using a couple ladders. In most cases, the lines between the indoor and outdoor unit will go right out the back of the indoor unit through a wall to the exterior unit. But if you got a location that needs heating and cooling and isn't near an exterior wall, no big deal. You can run the line set and electrical along interior walls for up to 75 feet. In my case, I had a 40-foot run to the rear exterior wall. It was a simple matter of installing the back half of the provided line set covers, using some zip ties to hold the line set and power cable in place temporarily. Then we could attach the pre-charged line set to the indoor and outdoor units, which is super straightforward with Mr. Cool's Quick Connect system. I also ran the drain line through the line set covers, and because of my long interior run, I opted to use PVC for the drain line to get a constant slope. The PVC was a simple modification using a threaded barb adapter to connect the PVC pipe to the drain line on the indoor unit. With that done, I put the front halves of the line set covers on so everything looks super clean and professional. Now, the only thing that Mr. Cool doesn't recommend you DIY is the electrical connection, and I called my electrician to add the electrical line. Even with this, installing the unit myself saved me thousands of dollars. So if you're in need of heating and cooling in your shop, garage, or anywhere else, follow the link in the description to check out Mr. Cool and save thousands yourself. Thanks to Mr. Cool for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to it. So next up, we have the kitchen build out. And this is one of the areas where I probably saved the most money by doing things myself. I really went for a high-end kitchen that probably would have cost, well over $100,000 but let's break that down. What did I actually pay for in this kitchen? Well, I paid for all the appliances, the sink, some of the specialty hardware, like the pull-out pantry hardware, which was $1,200 per pantry, or the flip-up door hardware for the coffee station, which was, I think, $300. So for materials, it was about $5,000 for plywood to build the cabinets and the drawers. For the appliances, I didn't go all the way custom built-in Sub-Zeros because those get insane. I went with some nice Bosch Frigidaire, stainless steel appliances, counter depth fridge, and those only cost about $11,700 total, which is less than the cost of a single Sub-Zero fridge. So all in, I only paid a little over $20,000 for the kitchen. Obviously, since I did everything myself, labor was zero. For the kitchen backsplash, I actually used tiles that were left over from the bathroom, so essentially $0 there for the backsplash. And I saved a ton by making my own concrete countertops and building the cabinets myself. On the concrete countertops, those would have cost about $10,000 DIY savings on the countertops. Probably about $1,000 in material that were provided free because I'm a YouTuber. Cabinets, this is the big one. The drawer fronts of the cabinets were actually provided by a company called Rayhow. It's a very high-end material manufacturer. They're a plastics company, so they have these very high-tech, durable, matte black doors that I went with. They provided those doors at no cost. They don't sell directly to the public. They sell through distributors. They're okay with an estimate that the doors would have cost around $20,000 to have them custom made on these cabinets. They're very high-end doors. And so anyone making these cabinets for this size of kitchen, which is about 350 square feet, you probably would be looking at about $75,000 at least for about as high-end cabinets as you can get. So taking out my material cost, DIY savings about $70,000 on the cabinets. And of course, because I installed all the cabinets myself, I did all the tile work for the backsplash, all that was done myself. That's probably another $10,000 in labor savings on the kitchen. Moving on to one of my favorite spaces in the building, the master suite. First thing to talk about is the 2 sets of custom barn doors we have in there. The first set of barn doors I made leads into the his and hers walk-in closets. I kind of made these like giant cutting boards with inlaid handles made out of leopard wood and walnut. Probably would have been about $4,000 a piece if you wanted to have something like this custom made. So that's about $8,000 in savings on those. And again, when I'm estimating the prices for custom pieces like this, it's really gonna vary by region, by who you talk to. You might find someone to design and build these for much less if you go on Facebook Marketplace, but quality is always a crapshoot if you go there. And on to the real showstoppers here, the bathroom doors. So the book match slabs for these cost $2,500. I made a big splurge there in materials, and we used about $1,500 in resin. Full disclosure, Total Boat, who's an amazing channel sponsor, provided the resin for free. I just sold a pair of these doors for $16,000 for a client who has some amazing taste in downtown Chicago. So all told, with those doors, because I did the fabrication all myself, we had a total savings of $21,500. The material cost between those 2 doors for me was only $2,900 as a YouTuber. Moving into the master bathroom, other than the kitchen, this is probably the place where I added the most value with my own labor. The one thing I did pay for here, because it was scheduled to be done right after I had my surgery where I almost died and I was laid up, in order to keep things moving, I paid someone to come in and lay down all the mortar for the curbless shower and a waterproof for the bathroom. That came to $4,000. So for material costs, we went with a bit higher in tiles here. 24 by 24 large format tiles for the floor and 12 by 24 large format tiles on the walls. For the vanity and linen closet, I built those, so really the only thing I paid for was the plywood. The high-end wood look material that I used for all the drawer fronts and exposed surfaces of the linen closet and the vanity were provided by Rayhow. That would have been about $2,000 for those materials. Hardware, including the really cool cabinet pocket door hardware I used on the linen closet, was all provided by channel sponsor ROCKLER Woodworking, which, by the way, there's gonna be a link in the description for all the ROCKLER Woodworking hardware that I used in this build. That was all provided free of charge, so there's a big savings there. And again, I fabricated my own custom concrete sink and countertop, so had some big savings there. Material, again, provided by Fishstone Concrete. So all told, I had about $3,500 in material savings because I was a YouTuber. One of the major costs was having a custom sized mirror and the floor to ceiling low iron glass for the shower enclosure. The glass was a custom height over 8 feet, which anything over 8 feet always adds a lot of cost. The glass and mirror were $4,000. So all told, between the tiles, the glass, the mirror, the plywood for the cabinet, the tub, the hardware for the bathroom, and the wood that I used on the feature wall that I built, that all came to $14,800. And then there was $4,000 I paid for the curbless shower to be laid and the waterproofing on the floor and the walls of that bathroom. So all told, the costs for that bathroom were $18,800. Now, as for the DIY savings, that sink would have probably been about $4,000 to have fabricated. Building that custom linen closet in the vanity easily could have been $7,000 to $8,000. Installing those large format tiles, making the custom mirror from the live edge slab, where the wood actually was free from my friend Bart Comer's lawn, and building in that custom LED feature wall surround. All these custom features, we can conservatively say add up to about $27,300 in DIY savings. As my understanding goes, kitchens and baths are the main area that adds value to homes. Hopefully the fact that I invested more in the master bathroom and in the kitchen really will add up. Next up, cost for the stairs. I redid all the stairs myself, so again, labor here was zero. The most expensive thing were the solid maple treads that we bought for the stairs leading from the downstairs to the upstairs. I actually made some stair treads for the short staircase between the living room and the back, and the landing for the stairs leading to the roof. I actually reused some of the extra maple flooring from the rest of the place to make my own stair treads. And then I just used some inexpensive pine stair treads that cost about $200 to go up to the roof. So all told here, we're looking at about $2,500 of material to redo the 3 sets of stairs. Labor, you're looking at about $10,000 in labor. The staircases are usually a big ticket item, so we'll say $10,000 DIY savings there from labor. Moving to the downstairs entryway and hallway, we put in new vinyl plank flooring. I did this green feature wall with an LED sign right when you walk in the building, and we had to get an entirely new door and entryway made from steel and glass. I had that fabricated down the street. So the new steel and glass door, fabrication, installation was $4,000. There were about 300 of materials that went into the green feature wall with LED sign that I built out. And then the vinyl plank flooring, that was actually provided through a sponsorship with Floret. Awesome flooring, link in the description if you guys are interested. So all in between the steel and glass door facade with the installation, everything, I paid a total of $4,300 for the entryway and hallway. All in labor savings, probably about $3,000 of labor I saved by doing the feature wall myself and doing all the vinyl plank flooring installed myself. Next up, we've got the roof deck that I built out. And this was something that was definitely a passion project. I wanted that feel on my roof for techs since I don't really have any outdoor space. The building takes up the entire lot. Now the total deck space is about 900 square feet. Of that, it's pretty close to half and half between the grassy area and decking. The total cost for materials here, for all the deck boards, fasteners, the pedestal system I use, the grass, the underlayment, all that sort of stuff came to about $15,000. We also had fence added in to fully enclose the area where the deck is, so I could just let Tex out up there without worrying about him. The cost for the steel fence to be fabricated was $3,000, another $1,000 of labor to be installed. And then of course the doghouse that I built for Tex up there, which I spent a good deal on. It ended up being about $3,000 for that doghouse. All told, materials were $18,000, labor $1,000, for a total of $19,000 spent on the roof deck. Now, as for DIY savings, I've seen people easily spend $100,000, $200,000 on roof decks. We'll go conservative and say for this 900 square foot roof deck with the yard, with the fence, with all that, I'm gonna say $60,000, so about $40,000 in labor savings for it. And again, if you wanna argue with me on these numbers, feel free in the comments. I welcome your comments, but in Chicago, I think that is actually a pretty conservative number at $60,000 for that deck. In the studio, we added a built-in. We actually built it using IKEA parts, and then also built that custom steel and plywood parametric wave handrail. The materials for all that were about $900 between the plywood, the steel, and then the IKEA cabinets. I'm gonna conservatively say like a built-in like that, probably $1,000 labor. And very conservatively for that custom stair rail, say it would be $3,000 labor for $4,000 savings and labor because I did all that myself. And I think that will do it. So without further ado, let's look at the totals. For everything, all in, what did I spend, including the $315,000 purchase price? $687,340. What were the DIY savings here? $244,500. So that amount, 687, actually it was definitely more than I hoped. I was hoping that all in we could do it for $600,000, including the purchase price. So that was $87,000 over what I hoped. I guess I really have to say thank you to all you guys, because with you all watching and supporting the journey, I was able to make money off the videos, which helped pay for the fact that we went well over budget. All right, guys, moment of truth. My friend Allie, who's a realtor, she's actually the one who found me this building. She just got here. She's gonna do a walkthrough and let us know what she thinks we could list this place for if we're gonna list it today. I'm excited to find out. I'm also a little nervous because you never know. I don't know. Did I lose money? Did I make money? We're gonna find out. Hello. Hi, come on in. How you doing? Good to see you. How you been?
Good to see you too. Good. This is Holly.
Hi.
Holly.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Come on in.
Awesome.
So, like, when I bought the building, you weren't even married yet.
I know.
And so now you're married. Is this number 3?
This is my 3rd kid.
So you've got married and have your 3rd kid on the way in the time it took me to just renovate one building.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
This is true. This is true. Do you have a number in mind?
No.
Nothing. Wow. I love it. This looks amazing.
Kitchen all redone. This pops up and you got the coffee bar.
Cool. Oh my God, beautiful. That's very Mike Clifford right there.
Try to
Again,
make
very
one.
Mike Clifford on the loopy lands.
So those go up here. Clean up the landmines. There's a lot of poop, I know. So master.
Great.
So this one, we've done a lot of work. Custom doors there.
Oh my God, come on. Love this. And you did all this.
Yeah. I know it's like it's a very challenging property to value because it's very unique. That's up to you guys. Either way, it's a good video. Either I lost money, there's drama, or made money, there's also drama, right? They've been in there about 45 minutes now, and I think we're gonna go see what the number is. So I'm a little nervous, but let's find out. All right, guys. So you've been working hard. I'm a little nervous, but you got a number.
We have a number.
Okay, hold on. And before you give me the number, I just want to tell everybody real quick, this is awesome of you two to come in here because, well, obviously I'm not selling the building, so you're just kind of doing this as a favor to me. So thank you very much. Allie is an awesome realtor who found me this building. So if anyone in Chicagoland area needs anything, Allie Rosina at Properties, you can contact either of them. There'll be a link in the description for you guys. And anywhere in Chicago, residential, commercial, they got you.
All right, we got a number. As we know, this is an extremely unique property. You took 4 years to renovate it. Condo on the top, commercial space on the bottom. So when we're looking at comps and looking at other things that have sold in the area, it's really hard to find an exact comp.
Right.
We did find something similar.
Really?
So we look at price per square foot. We look at the finishes that are done. We look at location. We look at the other added features such as a rooftop, 2-car garage, parking spaces, all that stuff. The grandio number that we've come up with is $950,000.
Whoa, that's more than I thought. That's awesome. Really?
Yeah, you're making some money on this.
Yes.
Love it.
That's awesome.
So there are some things we think you guys can do to hit that $1 million threshold. Finish some of the downstairs.
Okay.
Make it just like, you know, a little bit more up to speed.
Yeah.
You know, potentially some kind of space to use as a storefront or something like that.
Make a separate entrance for the storefront. So residential entry, commercial entry, I think would be a big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that would definitely
to
put you
know.
over $1 million.
That's actually in the plans. So
It's in the plans. There you go. You know what you're doing.
6-figure in the green, probably, if I were to sell today, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys
Good
coming
job.
out. I'm glad it's good news, but I was ready for, you know.
You did the right things.
So anyway, thank you again. It was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing my face showed it, but I'm very happy with the price that Allie and Holly came up with. For those curious, the comparable they used was actually a building that's 3 doors down, identical footprint, square footage, almost an identical shaped building with an upstairs renovated as a living space, downstairs unfinished, and it sold for $840,000 about 2.5 years ago. The finishes there on the interior space weren't nearly as nice, so that $950,000 price seems pretty spot on based on a very good comparable that I was surprised we had. Now, for those of you who are just finding the channel, in this video, there's a full 2-hour movie of the renovation process. And for those that really want to dive in, there are 50 videos documenting every detail of the renovation from start to finish. And for those of you who are wondering what's next for the channel, well, we have a video coming out probably in about a week where I'm going to detail all the exciting plans I've got for this channel, both near and long term. You'll definitely want to sub and bell because I've got some big announcements in that video that I'm very excited to share. Thank you guys for supporting me, being here in this journey. It means so much. That's it for this time, and I'll see you guys next time.